My story doesn't start in a cockpit or a hotel suite. It starts in a courtroom, not as a lawyer, but as a scared 16-year-old. I grew up in New Rochelle, New York. My father, Frank Sr., was my hero, a successful businessman who taught me that confidence and appearance were everything. Life was simple, happy, and stable. I never imagined it could fall apart, but at 16 my parents' marriage crumbled. In a cold courtroom, the judge asked me the impossible, "Who do you want to live with?" I couldn't choose. So I ran, out of the courtroom, into the streets of New York, with nothing but a few dollars and the clothes on my back. Suddenly I was alone, forced to grow up fast. No one wanted to hire a 16-year-old. I couldn't afford a place to sleep. I realized I couldn't survive as Frank Abagnale Jr., runaway teenager. I had to become someone else. My first con was simple. I changed the date on my driver's license to make myself 10 years older. Suddenly, I was 26. That small lie opened doors. I could get better jobs, cash checks, and pass as an adult. It was my first taste of reinvention and the power of perception. People believe what they see. That lesson became the foundation for everything that followed. I didn't set out to be a criminal. I was desperate. Reinvention became my survival. The world didn't see a scared kid. They saw the image I created. That's how my life of deception began. I learned quickly, if you look the part, people rarely question you. That simple truth would change my life forever. And it all started the day my world fell apart. In New York, I was always searching for an edge. Then I saw them, pilots, striding through a hotel lobby surrounded by flight attendants, treated like royalty. The uniform was a key. It commanded respect, trust, and privilege. I realized, if I could look like a pilot, my problems would disappear. Pilots traveled the world, stayed in the best hotels, and no one questioned them. The idea was intoxicating. The uniform was a suit of armor. Who would suspect a Pan Am pilot of being a teenage runaway? I decided I wouldn't just pretend to be older. I'd become First Officer Frank Williams, Pan Am pilot. It was audacious, maybe insane. I knew nothing about aviation, but desperation and youthful arrogance pushed me forward. I didn't see the risks, just the freedom and glamour. I was ready to trade my lonely life for the high-flying world of an imposter. The uniform would be my ticket. I was determined to make it real. The plan was set. I would become the pilot everyone trusted, and no one would ever suspect the truth. How does a teenager convince Pan Am he's a pilot? I had to build the illusion from scratch. First, the uniform. I called Pan Am, claimed my uniform was lost, and offered to pay cash for a replacement. With a fake employee number, I got measured at the supplier, and walked out weeks later with a real Pan Am uniform. Next, I needed a pilot's license and an employee ID. I interviewed a real pilot for a school project, memorized his license, and had a print shop make a convincing replica. For the ID, I posed as a co-pilot needing a replacement at the 3M office. In uniform, no one questioned me. They took my photo, made the card, and handed it over. Now I had the uniform, license, and ID, the holy trinity of my disguise. I looked in the mirror and saw a pilot. I wasn't Frank Abagnale Jr. anymore. I was Frank Williams, ready to fly. The transformation was complete. Every detail mattered. I was about to step into a world that would never see me coming. The perfect imposter was born. The 1960s were a different world. No TSA, no metal detectors, just trust and observation. If you looked like you belonged, you did. A pilot's uniform was the ultimate passport. I learned about deadheading, riding for free in the cockpit jump seat as a crew member. I'd show up in uniform, flash my fake ID, and ask to deadhead. No one questioned me. The cockpit became my classroom. I listened, learned the jargon, and soaked up every detail. I always told the crew, "You guys handle the flying, I'm just catching a ride." They welcomed me, shared stories, and never suspected a thing. I learned to talk, walk, and think like a pilot. My confidence grew with every flight. No one ever doubted me. The airport was my playground, and I was invisible. The pilot persona gave me more than travel. It gave me credibility. As a Pan Am pilot, I could cash checks anywhere. The uniform lowered every guard. I started simple, then learned to print my own payroll checks that looked just like Pan Am's. I deadheaded on over 250 flights covering 1 million miles. visiting dozens of countries. I lived in luxury, fine hotels, restaurants, expensive clothes, all funded by fake checks. I blended in with real crews, adding their stories to my own. The line between my act and reality blurred. I became a master forger, always one step ahead. I'd print blank checks, add my account number, and cash them before banks caught on. The thrill was addictive, but the stress was constant. I was always moving, always looking over my shoulder. It was a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, and for a while, I was winning. Success wasn't just about documents, it was about performance. I studied aviation, memorized jargon, and learned to sprinkle technical terms into conversation. Confidence was my weapon. If you act like you belong, people believe you do. I walked with purpose, carried a flight bag, and even smoked the right brand of cigarettes. Every detail reinforced the illusion. When tested, I'd turn questions back on real pilots, letting them talk while I listened. People love to share what they know. I used that to my advantage. The act extended to hotels and restaurants. I created a backstory for Frank Williams, complete with a fictional family. The more I lived the part, the more real it became. I was an actor on a global stage. My life depended on the performance. The pressure was immense, but the thrill of fooling everyone was impossible to resist. For a while, it felt like the party would never end. I had money, freedom, and respect. I stayed in luxury hotels, dated flight attendants, and lived like a movie star. The risks were enormous, but that was part of the appeal. Every forged check, every flight was a gamble. The adrenaline was constant. I had to be smarter and faster than everyone chasing me. My confidence grew. I started to believe my own lies. People trusted me because I projected certainty. But beneath the glamour, I was deeply lonely. I couldn't form real relationships. Every conversation was part of the act. Surrounded by people, I was completely alone. I had everything a boy could want, except someone to share it with. I was a ghost, living a life that wasn't mine. Crime always catches up with you. My downfall began with the forged checks. Banks compared notes, Pan Am got complaints, and the FBI got involved. Agent Joseph Shea was assigned to track me down. They had little to go on, just the alias Frank Williams and vague descriptions. My wanted poster appeared in banks and airports. I saw my own face and had to act casual. Close calls became frequent. Once, I escaped police in a hotel lobby by pretending to be someone else. The pilot gig was too risky. I changed identities. This time I became a doctor in Georgia, forging a Harvard diploma. But Agent Shea was relentless, piecing together my trail. He discovered my real name, Frank Abagnale Jr. Once they had that, it was only a matter of time. The net was closing in. My fantasy world was about to collide with reality. My days of freedom were numbered. The chase was almost over. My run ended in Montpellier, France in 1969. I was 21. An Air France flight attendant recognized me and called the police. I was arrested, thrown into a brutal French prison, then extradited to Sweden, and finally sent back to the US. I was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. The glamour was gone, replaced by prison walls and regret. I had time to reflect on the pain I'd caused, especially to my family. My father died while I was on the run. I never saw him again. Then, the FBI came to me for help with a check fraud case. I identified the forger's methods in minutes. The government offered me a deal. Served the rest of my sentence helping the FBI catch other forgers. After less than 5 years, I was released into the FBI's custody. I went from most wanted criminal to working for law enforcement. I spent decades helping the FBI and corporations prevent fraud. My story is a lesson in trust, deception, and redemption. It proves it's never too late to change, and to use